We are Gold Ivy, a health company dedicated to simplifying health and wellness. The industry is lacking the honest experience and grit required to overcome the struggle, and we're here to fill that gap.
You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold. Join us on the fearless pursuit of self-discovery and growth.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
We wanted to share a special episode where we sat down with Cole from Total Potential, a company with a mission to cultivate a culture of self-development and growth within families.
Total Potential offers online programs, coaching, and they've written an incredible book, Total Potential: How to Create a Culture of Growth and Wellness so your whole family can thrive.
Cole asked us about our mission with Gold Ivy as a company, the biggest transformations we've seen as coaches, and why we decided to light up the world with Ivy Unleashed.
It was wonderful being on the other side of an interview, and we hope you enjoy digging into the mission behind Gold Ivy Health Co. and the Ivy Unleashed podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to the Total Potential podcast. I'm Cole here with two amazing ladies, the founders of Gold Ivy Health Company, Brooke and Andrea. They are also coaches and have an awesome podcast. So I'm super excited to have you guys here today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. We're super excited.
So first I have to ask, how do you two know one another? Like, how did you ever get in a position where you wanted to take on this adventure together?
This is Brooke. 25. Andrea is now 36, so about 10 years older than me. And she came to our family Christmas, was dating my cousin. So there's 9 boys and myself in our family, and I'm the baby. And so
Of cousins,
yes. And so Andrea comes in, and it was immediate just bonding experience. She had divorced parents, and that was the first time that I met someone who had divorced parents. The people around me had, 2-parent households. And so I looked up to Andrea. And then fast forward to when I was deciding on where to go to school. We're both from Wisconsin. Andrea and her husband, my cousin, went to the University of Minnesota. And so it's a big reason that I came up here. And always looked up to her since day one. And fast forward after college, I had moved to Florida and started developing some health issues. And health became my world. And through my experience, I became a health coach and decided to start working where Andrew's working in the corporate wellness field. And we were in the office, and it was right before COVID hit. We were like, hey, I think what we're sharing with each other could really help someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're constantly talking about what book we're reading, what podcasts we're listening to, and the things that she was saying. Although she's 10 years younger than me, I just feel like we're the same age. We're at the same place, constantly trying to evolve as human beings, trying to find guidance where we can. And so I was thinking, I love when people tell me a good book they've read, or I love when someone shares an awesome podcast. And so I figured if we just record this, if it helps one person, cool. Or it's almost like a journal of what we're going through to record it. And then just learning the technology and stuff, we're like, you know what? It's a lot to learn, but once you figure out kind of how to do this, you can have a huge impact on the world. And we're finding that just in one season. We're about to air our 50th episode, and it's changed people's lives to be able to share people's stories and to share what we're learning. And so it's been a beautiful experience. And even though we're 10 years apart, it works well. We have different stages of life. And so it resonates with different listeners too on where we're both at. And it's been really cool.
This resonates on so many levels. First of all, obviously Jake and I do Total Potential together. And I do think there is something about actually having different perspectives that really brings a lot to the table for your listeners, for the people that you're working with. Cause it's not just that one shot, this works for me. It has such a broader perspective, and I can appreciate that so much. And how cool that you guys have had really almost like a lifelong bond,
Yes.
not just yeah. And then this, passion and process that brings you even closer together. That's really remarkable. Andrea, I'm going to start with you. First of all, did you just run like your 20th marathon or something
Yes.
that I saw?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So walk me through a little bit. I'd like to hear from both of you, but just to start with Andrea, how has health and wellness and fitness like fit into your life over the course, and how does it continue to evolve for you?
Yeah, I think growing up, my dad was always running, and I always wanted to run with him. And he would do these long distance runs, which I thought just sounded so cool. So eventually, when he let me join him, I was like, wow, this is cool to physically and mentally push yourself to go these distances. And then I did cross country in high school, and I was good at it, but it was like too short a distance almost. I felt like I was running way too fast for a short period of time. It just didn't feel right until I was really missing the competitive space because I was an athlete. And then when I went to college, I decided not to run cross country. I wanted a different experience where I wasn't known for athletics, but then I missed it. And so then my father-in-law is an Ironman, and that inspired me. And one day I was like, I think I want to try and sign up for a marathon and see how this goes. And my first one was the Twin Cities Marathon. I ran with my husband and my father-in-law and brother-in-law. And I was like, this is the race for me. It is so far. It is so taxing. The mental grit and the mind games that you play. I love the growth that's involved and the experience in all of it, interacting with people watching you and pushing yourself. And so I got hooked. And then somehow I just paired it with wanting to travel and running a marathon in all 50 states. So yes, just in my 20th state in Colorado. And I don't run a whole lot when I'm pregnant, and I don't really run when I'm nursing, and I have 3 children. And so, and now COVID has kind of put a damper on how far along I am with the states. Plus, it's very expensive to travel now that I've done all the ones that are drivable mostly. So, but yeah, wow. I have to prioritize it in my schedule to stay healthy with 3 kids. You know, making time for yourself is super challenging, and a lot can get in the way of you prioritizing yourself, especially if your kids don't sleep at night. So it's always a roller coaster. Sometimes I'm training really hard. Sometimes I'm not at all. And sometimes I take a whole year off of marathons. It just doesn't work financially, or doesn't work with what's going on in the family unit. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. And what like a positive example it is to show our children and our families that self-care, because it really, like, man, if you don't take care of home base, like, watch out. The rest is just going to be, along for the ride. So I love that as a really powerful example. I do kind of want to know is there a distance you get to where you're like, now I got to turn on the mental part, or does it vary race to race?
It definitely varies race to race. Now that I've have quite a few under my belt, I've had a lot of different experiences where I've had like really bad knee pain at like mile 4. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Or I've had digestive issues the whole time, or it's been hot the whole time and it's been really challenging. But I would say in general, I don't know how I'm going to feel till after mile 20. Because I can feel awesome until 20, and 6 miles is a lot of time to be falling apart. And so I typically tell myself, like, let's get to 20 and let's see how we feel there. Like, keep a good solid pace until then, fuel up regularly, hydrate regularly, and then pray for the best after that. Because it really is mental after 20. It is, you train up to 20 miles, or sometimes people do 22. You don't really train much more up to that. So it's just basically mental toughness afterwards.
Yes. Yeah. It's like holding plank for a long time. At some point, it's not even physical. It's just like, can my mind hang out here for a little bit longer?
Totally.
Yeah. Brooke, what has your fitness journey looked like? Are you also a runner, or are you kind of into other types of activities?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd say I'm a wannabe runner.
You're a runner. She's a runner.
So I actually, before COVID hit, Andrew and I were planning on running a marathon together in Nashville. It's going to be my first marathon. And then COVID happened. And I also had this weird bulging vein happen. The vein that goes from your ankle all the way to your groin. Basically, the valves burst. And so that was really painful. I was out of working out for a year. And so now I'm getting back into things. And through figuring out my own health journey, it was kind of a medical mystery for 4 years. And now piecing all of these random symptoms I had to kind of underlining issues, really the root cause, working with different functional practitioners. To answer your question shortly, I'd say I'm getting back into running, but I'm also doing a lot of things within my health to recover and to heal. And so sometimes running isn't the best idea. It takes a lot of energy. And so I'm getting really good at listening to my body. And sometimes pushing through and doing an 8-mile run is exactly what I need. And other times it's like, no, And so honoring where I'm at and what my body needs is definitely a work in progress, but it's something that I'm working on.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing like what you're finding this underlying, just because I know so many people who have these types of situations where they have a symptom that feels like this, and then they go down that road and it's not that thing. And then, this next thing, and it can be such a cumbersome process to walk through. Like what have some of these roads led you down?
Yeah. Do we have 5 hours? So that's honestly in a nutshell why I became a coach. There is such a gap of care between medicine and how we feel and finding the answers that we need. I've seen over 50 doctors. I've spent 4 years. So after I graduated from college, I moved down to Florida. And I started developing a lot of digestive issues all throughout my life. Through college, I was go, 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 typical, you hear it all the time. And then all of a sudden I had some symptoms that I'm like, I don't feel like me. Something is really off. And along with digestive symptoms, I had anxiety, depression, awful brain fog. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't feel like me. I couldn't remember things. And so, I went to the clinic at school, went to different GI doctors around the cities. We have so many doctors, Mayo is close here. And so I went in and they all like, you're a college student who just drove back from Florida. I was down there for a summer internship before I graduated. And that's really when I started developing these symptoms. And they told me, you're probably just stressed. Stress a lot of psychosomatic symptoms can be caused. And so, okay, well, you're the doctor. Who am I to argue with you? I had a bunch of hormonal symptoms as well. And so they switched my birth control, and I was just trying everything and anything. And that's after about 10 different clinics and doctors all telling me, change your diet, relax, just sleep. I really started exploring, doing my own research, listening to the podcast, listening to the books. Okay, what could I change? What inflammatory foods could I remove? How can I help myself? Because it's expensive as well. And so after, colonoscopies and blood work and just the list goes on, I was a college student and I was broke and the debt was piling up and I had to choose between finding answers or going deeper in debt. And it was really a vicious cycle. And so up until 3 months ago, I finally got introduced to a functional nutritionist through someone we had on our podcast. And she actually she does a GI map where she tests the bacteria that's in your gut, really seeing what's in there. And it's expensive. It's alternative medicine. It's not covered by insurance. And so after 4 years of my symptoms getting worse and worse, I said, okay, well, what is my health worth? And so I decided to work with her. And through this test, I found so many things. I think for the first month, I was in shock that I finally found answers. Everyone around me was so happy for me. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't know if I believe this, right? I would get a little piece of hope from some practitioner. I would see the amount of things and protocols that I've tried. And so that trust from my body is still something that I'm working on regaining. And it's been really, really tough, but I see that with so many people around me.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly to your point, these symptoms of the brain fog and the anxiety, and me knowing like this anxiety is connected to my stomach. My stomach is so off, and when my stomach is off, my head's off, and then learning about the gut-brain axis and all of these things that no one teaches you. The doctors you see, they don't tell you. But basically what I found was a bunch of different parasites, bad bacteria. I had basically no good bacteria. I eat pretty healthy, trying to figure things out for 4 years, and the bacteria in my gut microbiome looked like a toddler. Right now I'm getting tested for mold, heavy metals, and toxins, and doing a bunch of different natural healing remedies like sauning and Epsom salt baths, coffee enemas. And
it's like an ongoing saga. What is she doing this week? It creates great content on Ivy Unleashed, though. I can always ask her about the next thing she's doing.
But it's really that frustration of, why is it like this? Why does it take so much time and money and to find answers and to feel good? And, you know, I wholeheartedly believe that we were meant to feel good, and that symptoms are our body's way of telling us, hey, pay attention to me. I need something. And so I feel like it's my purpose to help others who are in that same position I am. I'm walking the walk right there with them. But I have found, that slowing down and actually listening to what my body's trying to tell me, that these symptoms aren't normal. It's not normal to have a headache every day, to have brain fog, to be anxious. And so to help my clients uncover what is really going on, and to be confident in their ability that they know what's best for them, and they know when something's off.
Yeah, I say all the time, like, every answer that we've ever needed lives inside of us. It's just that for most of us, it's really hard to find the space where it's possible to let those answers arise, whether that's in a health journey, when you're digging into mindset. Like, there's so many ways in which that becomes true. But yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I'm so happy to hear that you've found a path and some healing. And I must, like, I'm 40 this year, so I have a few years on you guys, but I don't know a lot of 25-year-olds who have the type of like maturity and patience and willingness to pursue something like this. So I just give you like so much credit, because I think what ends up happening for many people is they have something like that unfolding for years and years and years. And then they get to be 50 and they're like, wow, I've felt like crap for how long? Now what do I do about it? Like, it's the only existence they've ever known. So I just give you a lot of credit for really diving in at a really young and tender age.
Thank you.
It's remarkable.
Thank you. I think it speaks to how important it is who you surround yourself with. You know, I had a wonderful team of people who didn't let me give up. My mom, Andrea, my boyfriend, my friends, because I say before I got sick, but you know, I was so different, full of life and energy and go, go, go. But through this work, I've also realized that there was a reason that I was like that. I was go, go, go to avoid and really sit in the pain of my childhood. And so that's, you know, the link between what you said, mindset and physical health, and learning that wellness is so much more than just physical. And we do have all the answers within us. It takes quieting that outside noise and listening to your truth. And that's all about what our podcast, Ivy Unleashed, is about. And when we work with our clients, it's what is your truth? What is true to you? And a lot of people don't know, and it takes that work.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what you see as like the important message. Like, if the podcast has like an overarching theme, what's kind of like the meaty message that you really want to convey through that medium?
Our biggest thing is that we want to be a light for people and share your truth, like Brooke said. And sometimes that takes talking about something from the past that's really hard to talk about. And so we like to have people on to talk about their stories or talk about what they want for their dreams. And so the biggest thing is like we keep saying, what is that truth? What is speaking to you? Is it a dream? Is it something you want to pursue? Is it something from your past that you know you need to face and address? So a lot of things that we talk about have to do with mental health. And we do talk about the physical stuff, but I would say in general, Ivy Unleashed is really to dig into who are you and what do you want out of this life and how can you get there, you know, and what is it going to take? A lot of times we talk about resources too, that you're not meant to do this alone. So we're here to help you bring the story to life, or we're here to have you talk about what you're passionate about to help build your dream even more. And we're here to talk about what we struggle with. That's like one of the biggest things. And the reason why we started what we started is because in the health and wellness industry, you listen to the podcast and like 3 ways to maximize this about your life, and they have the answer. And Brooke and I will literally start a podcast being like, this is a tough topic because we struggle with it. And this is why. And we talk about like the real raw human experience of, the more vulnerable we are talking about what we struggle with, like the easier it will be to get through it, because then you find your support system and that truth is out there. It doesn't haunt you anymore. You can attack it with your friends and together with people. And the messages we get are so validating that, wow, I can't believe somebody actually talked about that. Like, wow, I had no idea you as this marathoner struggle with your bedtime routine and washing your face. Gross. Like, what's wrong with you? Wash your face. And I'm like, I know. It's so hard.
I love that though, because it's so true. Like the truth is the truth. And we spend so much time hiding from it in so many ways. But like the second someone is brave enough to share the truth, it makes something possible for whoever's hearing that or is part of that experience. It makes something possible for them. And then it also just like rips off the mask of whatever, was hiding, because I mean, the truth is just the truth. And the more we bring it to the surface, I love that. Yeah. Even as like too powerful, like fit, like you're living in the space, you're doing the work, and then still being willing to just say like, sometimes this stuff is hard.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it gets real weird.
Especially with what Brooke's going through, her, like sometimes, I think 10 years ago, would I share all that she's sharing? Because it's so vulnerable, like talking about an enema, like talking about the different things she's had to try and do. But it releases this power over us. It releases other people to share what they're struggling with. I mean, this community has really opened up, and we've met people in Alaska. We had someone on Ivy Unleashed that we had never met before. She was just a follower, but she had a really cool story and vulnerable story. And she had never shared with anybody outside of her small circle that she had an eating disorder, and decided to let that out and let it be a free story for people to hear. And you never know what part of it people relate to either. You can say something about your eating disorder, but she also talked about self-doubt and confidence and the opinions of others and how much that weighed on her. And you could pick any part of her story and relate to it. And so we just find it so valuable for people to just take the risk and sit down and talk about what you struggle with or what you've been through.
Yeah, and how healing it is, right? Not just for me to be vulnerable and to share, but we're witnessing it for those around us. We're giving them a voice. They're sharing with us. And we believe that words are power, whether they're spoken, whether you read them. Andrew and I are obsessed with quotes. They're what get us through the hard times. And, we believe our name, Gold Ivy, that you can't have the gold without the ivy, right? Ivy, it grows in hard places. And the gold, we want to be a light for others. And so to hold space for both, that's where your true power is. When you can talk about the ivy, but you can say, hey, I got the gold. I'm doing it, but it doesn't come easy, and it's not supposed to come easy. But the more you open up and share, the less scary it seems.
I love the kind of highlighting of that, the name and how those two play together, right? Because like even my own experience, I would say that actually the ivy is been the place where like the gold grows, like the very best. And sometimes it takes a lot of distance before you can really see that as like really precious. Painful stuff is still painful, but yeah, I love that, because it does take both. Like Jake talks about this a lot. Actually, I'd be interested to know your guys' take on this. He always talks about like in the scope of emotions, like we're not always trying to have a 10, even though we're kind of conditioned to assume like we want every day to be a 10. He always says, the ones, like they're there too for a reason. We're not trying to sit in one and just like hang out there, but to be able to experience the breadth of all of that, the gold and the ivy, there's so much that we learn and get to become through both of those. I'd be super interested to know what your guys' take on that is, though, kind of like embracing that whole spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think I can speak specifically to my healing journey of, they really say it's 3 steps forward, 5 steps back, or 1 step forward, 3 steps back. And the other day, last week, I had the best day I've had yet in years. And I was at 10. And then that next day I was down at that 1. And I was so frustrated. And then I reminded myself how beautiful that I got to experience such a wonderful day. I forced myself to be grateful. And that day that I had that was so good felt even better. And I looked forward to it. And I got to reflect and ask myself, okay, what was different about that day? What can I learn in this moment? Okay, I'm learning to allow myself to rest, to recharge, to feel the feels, because I'm feeling this right now. It makes that 10 so much better. But I also am human, and I'm learning how to not stay in that 1, like you said, how to move through it, how to feel it, allow it, and then, okay, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the weather right now. It's like a rainy day, and I'm like, this matches my mood today. It's okay. I'm not feeling super chippy today. Like, I kind of like those days where the rain, like, it matches your mood. You don't feel like this pressure to be so happy and bubbly all the time. And I would say majority of the time, am that happy, bubbly person. But I think, especially as a mom, it's important as your kids are going through the emotions to say, like, it's okay to feel anything you're feeling. Like, that is valid. That's okay. You can be as frustrated as you want right now. That's terrible. And the more you do that, the more they can just get through the emotion. I think actually being in with it and having someone with them to feel it helps them get through it so that they can feel better and they can know that, you don't have to fake being happy. Like, if you just want to wallow a bit, that's totally fine. And I think so many parents force you to, like, you have so much to be grateful for. You know what I've done for you? Be happy. Like, you can't force someone to feel anything.
Yeah.
So, whether you're a parent or not, I think it's, we say it to each other too, like, feel the feels. What you're feeling is valid, and you need to feel it. In order to release it. And there's nothing wrong. It's that shame around it. That's what gets us in trouble.
For sure.
Yeah. And then it gets stored, right? And that's when we get in trouble. It'd be so much better, like, in the moment to just feel it and let it pass, because it's an emotion and it will. And then, instead of it being like, oh, weird, now I have a problem in my left toe. Like, the last time I was mad, like, guess where that went?
I feel like that's the value of a coach, right? Is if you have someone to consistently check in with, that you can unload anything you're going through. I think sometimes we feel like we're burdening our loved ones to share this something we're struggling with or that we're unhappy about something. And I think, Brooke and I, we have therapists, we have coaches, we have each other. We lean on all of the resources possible because it's so important to have those outlets. You lean on different people to share different things. And sometimes having those really heavy thoughts, those deep, dark thoughts, it probably would be better to share that with someone that's a professional that can help you through it, or a coach that can help you set goals to kind of work on that thing you're struggling with. And so we rely on resources outside of ourselves big time.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit, like, what the coaching process looks like for you. So if I'm the client and I call and I'm interested in coaching, what does that look like?
Yeah, well, we like to have a call prior to starting coaching, just to make sure we're a good fit for each other. So we'll talk about, like, what are your goals? What are you kind of looking for? And, sometimes people want a therapist. They want someone to, like, really go through this past trauma. And that's not what coaching is. I mean, we can talk about anything really on the planet. We end up talking about stress management a lot because people come in, especially with me, they'll want to coach about an event they have. I want to train for a marathon. And then we end up talking about time management and actually, like, can you make yourself a priority? Like, you're a parent, it looks like you're struggling with this, and we end up talking about all aspects of wellness. And so as far as coaching goes, we pick a package. So some people just want a short-term goal to get to an event, and some people are like, I need this ongoing. This is for my mental health. I want to continue to check in with you monthly, and we have clients we've been talking to for a very long time. And so the coaching process is, the first call is longer, typically 45 minutes to an hour, to really get to know you once we've established our relationship, to dive into, your chronic conditions, if you have any, what has been good for you in the past, what's worked well for you, what hasn't worked well for you, why you feel that things are kind of in your way or barriers, to kind of address those before we even move forward, of figuring out who are you and what do you really want out of life? What's been speaking to you? What have you been struggling with? And that ends up being a really well-rounded conversation of all aspects of wellness. And then each time we chat with our clients, it's, what's pertinent right now? What is something that in this month you really want to address and make progress with? And then we strategize with goals. How can we do this? What's that going to look like for you? Can you visualize it? What would get in the way of that? What are you going to tell yourself when you don't want to get out of bed? How are you going to work through that? And most of the time they come up with the answers themselves. It's not a whole lot of us telling them what to do. But yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because it's almost the opposite of Ivy Unleashed, right? On Ivy Unleashed, our podcast, we have all these resources, all these tools. We're really sharing about what's working for us. And that's something that we found, right? We did our own soul searching and digging, listening to our truth. And then with coaching, it's giving our clients the confidence to figure it out themselves, because if it's not true to you, it's not going to stick. If it doesn't click, it's not going to stick. That's what I like to say. And it's a lot of mindset work. It's a lot of asking those right questions of, oh, I never thought of it that way. Okay. And seeing what they come up with, and then providing, the tools. Okay, I have an idea. Can I share my idea with you? And seeing if it resonates with them.
And also a lot of people don't realize how they talk to themselves. So we find a lot of our conversations are really about, what are you saying to yourself? And, realizing how big of a bully they are to themselves. They beat themselves down. And so a lot of it, like Brooke said, is building confidence. Like, you've got this, you have everything you need inside of you. Let us help you see that and then put it into action.
Yeah. We have so many self-limiting beliefs that are stored in our subconscious that we don't even know we're aware of. And as we ask these questions, they surface. And so, okay, so when this moment happens, this is what you're saying to yourself. Do you really believe this? Where did you learn this belief? And unlearning that, I should say. And it's so powerful.
Yeah, it is remarkable work. And we're also coaches. We have coaches. You guys are coaches. You have coaches. Like, I cannot tell you how impactful. Like, it's so interesting that we've had coaches and teachers like our whole lives. And then we get to adulthood and we're like, oh, I got this. And like, just having that space that's designed to, like, for somebody to hear what you say and then just ask, like, is that true? Is that what you believe? Like, where did that, I mean, those questions reveal so much about what we can do or what might be possible for us with just like the tiniest little tweaks. Like, so much gets to change just because of, I'm going to change the nuance of this one thought. I'd be so interested to know, do you guys mostly work with women or do you also work with men?
We work with both, but I would say majority of our clients, 90% are women.
Yeah. Are there like top 2-3 things that most people, so training for events you mentioned is one thing, but are there like a top 2 or 3 other things that people tend to bring into the space that is a really powerful area for them to work on?
Yeah. Exercise, definitely. Right. Also stress is a huge one, that prioritizing the time. And there is this misconception that filling your cup up first and that self-care is selfish, and it just angers me. But I'm also not a mom. And so Andrea works with a lot of moms, and that's something that's, whether you're a mom or not though, is an issue. And then also I think the comparison and the not knowing what I want. I'm unhappy and I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's a big one that I see. And that's all around mindset and the wishing, but I can't take action.
Yeah. I would say a lot of the starting point of people signing up for coaching though is weight loss. They think they're coming in to lose weight and they end up focusing mostly on mental health, because they have this goal and they think there's just, maybe they have this one answer that will help me lose the weight. And it's just like undoing all of those beliefs, right, of why you haven't gotten here before. Well, our culture has set you up to fail with all of these quick fixes. You know, if we talk more about how you're caring for yourself and building up your self-confidence, you will be able to follow through with these lifestyle behaviors that take a lot of work and time and intention. And so it's a lot about, you know, setting these intentions of, yes, it's weight loss. We want to get there. We do want to be healthier. We do want to, you know, look good, feel good type of thing. But as we approach the conversation, it becomes so much about, you know, what are we saying to ourselves? What's it going to look like this week actually with your time? You know, what's the bare minimum that would make you feel successful and make you feel like you're making progress? And then let's celebrate it when we hit those goals.
Yeah. Andrea, this is a little bit unique just because of who our audience is, but as a mom yourself, what are some of those big challenges that you see in mom life for still meeting, like, I mean, you know, a marathon in every state, like that's a massive goal. What are some of the things that you notice in relation to motherhood and still achieving these important goals?
I would say the biggest thing for moms is the self-care is selfish. Taking time for me is selfish. Taking time for me needs to be the last thing, because if everybody else is taken care of, then I can. But in reality, it's the opposite. I mean, we just had a guest on our podcast that said, let your children be the reason, not the excuse. And that spoke to me so deeply, because that's exactly what I'm talking with my clients about all the time is let them be the reason that you're waking up early and creating some time for yourself, so that when you do see them, your cup is full. You have taken time to grow in your faith and nourish your body with food and get physically active and get some healthy, feel-good endorphins going. So you're happier when you see them. You're not feeling bitter about them taking away your time or energy, or the fact that you've put on some weight because you're so stressed out. Because so many moms, we feel like we need that extra sleep because we're tired. So we roll out of bed when our kids wake up. And then we look like crap. We feel like crap. We eat their leftover breakfast instead of actually what we wanted to. And so I would say the biggest thing is that mindset shift from I need to care for everybody else first and then I'll be whole, to I am going to create my whole self and make sure my whole self is taken care of. And then I can give to everybody else on fire, instead of what's next, what's coming at me. You're in charge of it. You're ahead of it. You feel like, you know, you can go into your day with an intention of, I know one of my kids really needs extra love today, or this is a big week for them. And so I really want to be intentional about this. I think when you're ahead of it, especially in the morning, taking care of yourself, it just waterfalls to everybody around you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love, like, as you're saying this, I'm imagining almost from like an energetic perspective, you know, when we are cared for, when we are like our mind's in the right place, our body's been taken care of, we did get enough sleep. Like when all those things start adding up, our vibration gets so much higher. And we want to say that like this person is separate from me, but it's just like we're way more connected than that. And so if you think about like, not only, yes, do we have more to give as mothers if we're well cared for, but then I think about what you were talking about, like the way that spills over, right? Like now it's not only that like I feel internally better about being able to care for my children and show up in my community and whatever those things are, but now like the energy that's coming out of me and going to all of these other places is so much more positive and high vibration, instead of like this low little wave that we're sending out otherwise. Yeah. So I love that.
I love that
perspective.
Yeah. I love thinking about it that way with energy. You know, something that's really important to me is that we take our kids to school. I know not everybody can do that, but this could happen before they go out the door of the bus, is that those last few minutes before they go into their day, right? Think about that time in your life when you're young, you're about to go to school, you have this full day with all of this stimulation, these teachers telling you, and you're learning and you're pulled in all different directions. Like those 5 minutes before they're out the door, they're in your car, that you can be super present and clear about what you want to say to your kids and how you want to set up the tone of their day, the rest of their day. I think the only way to really have that intention is to have time to think about it, you know, to take care of yourself and have that little window. Like my window is making them breakfast before they wake up. is during that time, I think about, I'm giving them this food to nourish their bodies. I'm going to be the energy. They're going to come down the stairs. The first person they're going to see is going to be me. And they're going to see how to take care of yourself because they will see that I've worked out. They will see that I've already ate breakfast. I've got a ton of energy because I got my coffee in me, And it's like I'm showing them how to care for yourself and then talking them through, if it's something they need to work on at school, what did we talk about we're going to work on at school today? Or you have your race today, like acknowledging something that's super important to them so they know, God, I feel so cared for. And also, or, this is something I need to work on. My mom reminded me I got this. I think it's important.
Yeah, it's really valuable. And I appreciate so much the way you share that perspective, not only, in your own experience, but for your clients too, like just that little shift. It can really change the dynamic for everybody in the family in such a positive way. I'm interested to know what are some of like the bigger transformations that you've seen in your clients?
Yeah, I think their ability to be present has been huge for me. And along with that is that happiness, that feeling like they are living on purpose because they have control over, that they're in offense. They're not on defense anymore. And so once they get that mindset shift of, okay, like I need to fill my cup up and it takes being intentional and here's what I need to do, until they have that time where they slow down, where they turn inward, they don't know what sets them on fire, what makes them happy, right? They're so focused on what they don't want that they're so far away from what they do want. It doesn't seem possible. And so to help them slow down and not look at that whole ladder, but just that next step and to be super intentional with their actions and also aligned with what is that going to give them? It's meditating, it's slowing down, it's turning inward. And when you have that time, whether you're a mom or not, to fill up your cup, to get organized, to set those intentions for the day, you then can be present moving forward and feel like you are living your life again in offense and not on defense.
I would say the biggest transformations I've seen have been about self-worth too. Like knowing that you're worth this time. Someone purchasing a coaching package, I always congratulate them. Like, I'm so happy you're here. You are so worth this time. And I'm going to give you all of me and all of my presence so you can get the most out of this. And I think it's showing something to yourself. When you sign up to work with a coach, it's saying, I'm worth this time. I don't get it anywhere else. This is like a lot of our clients' only time to really reflect on themselves and have somebody else reflect it back saying, wow, you got out there and you walked 5 days a week this week. Like that's the most you've walked in how long? Like that's amazing. Good job. Like, and they start to see and the relationships shift. I think a lot of people realize, wow, the opinions of others have really weighed on me and made me put myself on the back burner, or I chose to put myself on the back burner due to what other people thought of me or what I thought of myself. And so I think the transformation I love to see is that self-worth when they realize, wow, doesn't matter what's going on. I'm going to make this time for me. It's incredible.
They realize their power, that they had it within them all along.
Yeah. I think both of those points that you guys are making are so important and probably kind of like pair together in some ways, right? Because, when we have those pulls to like be concerned about other people's opinions, and it's always these things that pull us outside of ourselves. But when we do have the chance to just come into presence, we're so conditioned, right? Go outside, do the performing, care about what this person thinks, look this certain way. We're so conditioned on that in so many ways. But if we just like come back into ourselves a little bit, there's like a whole bunch of really amazing stuff that's just sitting right there waiting for us.
Totally. There's so much outside noise, right? Think about social media. And I think that's something that Andrew and I both noticed. No matter what age you're at, there's always the comparison game. And so really turning inward and asking like, what is important to me? Do I actually care about this, or do I care because I'm seeing that other people care? And a lot of the times we're giving that outside the power, and really it's our life. Like we have one life to live, and how do you want to live it?
Mm-hmm. Completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys have your podcast, which even in season 1 is crushing it, like really powerful stories and touching so many people's lives. Just really remarkable. You have your coaching. What do you guys like? What is your underlying why for doing this work?
That's a great question. I would say my why has been to leave a message for my kids is kind of how it started. Is not that I need them to think the way that I think, but I wanted them to know who I was and know that I wanted to provide something for the world that is helpful. I didn't really know what that was going to look like. I figured it would be self-growth and development. This is what I do. I'm a coach. I love talking about bettering yourself. But I didn't realize how much it would be, how vulnerable it would be about my own life and sharing so much about their life. And so I would say my why is to figure out a way to take my life, the struggles I went through growing up, the things that were hard for me, and channeling it into something positive and uplifting for people, where I want my kids to know you can be exactly who you are. You are not meant to impress anybody else but yourself, and you have everything within you. And if you don't feel that way, that lean on your people. It's like the message we share every episode is like, you take what message you want from what we're saying. If it doesn't resonate, leave it. Do not apply it to your life. We are not saying we're the experts, but we've been through some shit. And so we want to talk about it. And I would say my why is to really be honest about my experience and use it for good.
Yeah. Shift the darkness into light. That's really powerful. I love that. Brooke, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I'd say it's helping others find their voice, finding their power. You know, for 4 years, I was quieted and muted, and I lost faith and trust in my ability and, you know, questioning myself. And I want others to know that they have that power within them. And by surrounding yourself with the right people, by asking the right questions, that everything is figure outable. If you want it, you can have it. And your voice matters. And you know yourself better than anyone. I think a lot of the times we lose track of who we are, what's important to us. And you're right, I don't know everything. But to have that faith and that voice back is powerful. And I want others to know that they can trust in themselves.
Yeah. Super empowering. I love that. What a beautiful message too. Okay, you guys, where can people find out more about you, listen to the podcast, all the good stuff so they can get involved with Gold Ivy?
Yeah, so we are on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, all the socials at Gold Ivy Health Co. And our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then we have a behind the scenes video on YouTube, and that is Gold Ivy Health Co. is our YouTube channel, but we are Ivy Unleashed on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and our website is goldivyhealthco.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we link all of that in the show notes. I can't wait for people to get to listen to you too and check you guys out even more so they can hear all the goods. And yeah, really beautiful messages that you guys have, and the way that you do intend to like shine light and empower people and give them the voice that, you know, they've probably always had but never heard before. It's just really remarkable. So congratulations on the good work, and keep it up. And I know you'll just keep impacting even more and more lives. It's remarkable.
Thank you. And thank you for your book. We read your book and it was beautiful. And I think that's something too that we haven't seen in the space yet is we have a lot of the same topics we talk about. We talk about being vulnerable and having courage and being present. You know, in your book, a lot of the people that you and your brother look up to, we do too. Mm-hmm. But to read a book that is directed towards families, where not only are you, you know, having these self-growth, self-development topics incorporated into your family, but it's going deeper than that. Like, how are our beliefs and values being put into the world, into society? We're not just running around and doing all these activities. I think having a book like yours out there that we can share with people, especially parents, to say there's a different way to do this. There's a more intentional way to be a parent and create a family unit. I'm just so grateful for your book and excited to share that with all of our listeners too.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Yeah. I just, like, any one family, I'm like, I think my belief is that, like, this world can be healed through whole families. And so, like, any little sliver of something we can do to support that, we're into it. So, but thank you for the kind words. That's very much appreciated.
And thank you for having us. This was so fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone go check out Gold Ivy. We'll link all of your guys' social and website and all that good stuff and podcast in the show notes. And we'll hopefully, we're like practically neighbors in, like, the big scheme of things. So hopefully our paths will continue to cross too. Yes. So, all right. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.